Hey there, superstars. We've got the one, the only Taylor Maddix for a live Q&A. So stay tuned. Let's get started.
You hear first from Ty Lopez. This is Manny Lopez. No, we're not related. Brother from another mother.
Hey, Manny, they leaving the money out. What are they doing? You guys that are orphans and you want to get your money right so that you can be a CEO.
You have something special. You have greatness in you. And Manny's a great leader and a very good friend of mine. And I'm looking forward to our sharing the stage together. Manny, it's time.
It's time. Always remember that you are too blessed to be stressed.
Thanks, Manny. Be great.
We travel around the world and we go to these entrepreneur events, and hundreds of them that we've been to, hundreds of them that we've been on their stage, and they're all about selling. They're all about making money. They're all about collecting fame, blowing up on social media. But the reason why we wanted to take this one, we were trying to do anything in our power to make this happen, to get this event, is because of that word right
Serve.
there. And that's serve. So let's give it up for Manny and the entire team for putting this together.
All right. We are live. Welcome to the show, Caleb.
Yo. I can hear you. What's going on, Manny?
Oh man, excited to have you here, brother. Just as an FYI for you that are tuning in, if you have a question for Caleb, go ahead and put it in the comments. We're going to be bringing in people left and right to share what they have to ask Caleb, and we're going to get some questions answered right now. So, Caleb, I'm excited to have you here, brother. First question I have is how to deal with negativity, right? A lot of the entrepreneurs that I come across, they always have this seems to be a difficulty getting across people being negative. And for a lot of the, ups and downs that we have in life, being discounted on what we can do and not saying that our dreams are possible and just not giving us the credit we deserve and what we can bring to the marketplace. How do you deal with people that are just not seeing your vision and just always have negativity?
Well, first things first, man, that's a great question. And that's why I'm pumped to be on here, bro. You always ask the best questions. It gets my mind churning, not just value for everyone else out there, but gets me thinking and new concepts coming up, which I enjoy. As far as how to deal with negativity, there's a few things. Number one, I recommend you don't deal with it. That's the first thing. What does deal mean? Well, it means you're making a deal. It's like you're negotiating. And I've done a ton of negotiations. I've negotiated with a ton of people that I have a lot of respect for. I even once negotiated a business partnership between me and my business partner, Ryan, and Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins, right? I was negotiating for a business partnership with them on the kids program that we have. And I love negotiating, but I'm going to tell you what. I don't negotiate with people that I do not personally want to work with on a close level. I'm not even going to do a deal with them. And I feel the same way with negativity. Like, people are always like, how do you deal with it? You got a negative person in your life. Dude, I don't deal with it. I'm not making any deals with negativity whatsoever. So if you're sitting there saying, well, how do I deal with negativity with this? How do I deal with negativity with this person? My thing is, I personally just don't deal with it. That's the first thing. The second thing is, there's people in your life that you that obviously are negative. You want to cut those people out, but also there's going to be people where sometimes you do have to deal with those people, right? They're your friends, they're your family. And one of the things my dad taught me growing up was that you can't stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can keep it from making a nest in your hair. Now, what that means is I can't stop negativity from being in my life. I can't stop it, a bird from flying over my head. There's nothing, I can't even reach it, right? That's just inevitable at some point. Same thing with negativity. You're going to always have negative people. You're going to have people because inherently humans in a way are negative, right? Like, that was designed for us to look at the negativity. That way we are able to survive if you look at us from a primal level. So negativity is going to be something that a lot of people have. So for me, if I have to be around those people, the number one thing that I do is I make sure, even though I'm with them, I don't let their energy attach to me. The way I do this is, like, say I'm at a family get together, right? Like, I got family just like everyone else does, and a lot of times they'll get to complaining, they'll get to negative thoughts. And for me, what I do is I walk away. Like, if I hear people talking negative, I'll literally go in the bathroom. I got to use the restroom, but I don't. I just go in the bathroom. I take a few deep breaths and I reset myself, because I know I'm around it, but I don't need to let it get into my mind. I don't need to let it be in my hair. And that's a big thing for me, is I detach myself from it. In fact, I have a few friends that are billionaires, and out of two of the friends that I know best that are billionaires, there's two things they both have in common that actually blows my mind, that there's this pattern. And it shocked me that they both said it. And I haven't really heard anyone else say this, but the two people I heard say it that were adamant about it are both the ones that are worth over $1 billion. So that's something we should probably listen up about, right? And basically what they both told me is that if they're ever in a room and someone's seeing even the slightest thing that's negative, even if they don't mean for it to be negative, but they're just talking about it and they feel negativity, they will immediately get up from the table and walk away. Both of those billionaires said that. They both said because it's not worth their time to be around negativity. So that's the same thing for me. If I sense negativity, I get up and I walk away. But the hardest thing to defeat when it comes to negativity isn't other people, because you can physically distance yourself from them. The hardest thing to really rewire is your own negative thoughts. And that's one thing that you're always going to deal with no matter how positive you are. I still have consistent negative thoughts that are automatically just neurons in my head that are firing off. But one of the things I've been doing recently, and it's absolutely changed my life, and I'm telling you, like, Manny, it is like a night and day difference. Like, there's this movie called Limitless, and basically what it is there's these people that take these NZT pills, right? They take these, they call them limitless pills. And the moment they take these pills, literally they become superhuman, right? Like they see the world differently. They can see the math in between things. They can automatically remember everything that's ever happened in their life, so they can collect all the data between every single movie that they've ever seen about fighting, and now they can fight because they remember everything they've seen, right? It's like they're literally on a whole other level. And I feel like being able to do this thing and knowing these 3 steps is something that to me is like almost like a limitless pill. It literally allows me to rewire my mind in a way that most people aren't able to. And there's 3 things that I do. I call these the 3 R's. The first one is I recognize. The first thing, you cannot change a negative thought unless you can first address the fact it's negative. So the first thing I'll do is if I have a negative thought, I immediately recognize it. And I immediately point out and pull it out. What is that thing? And I'll literally think about it. What is the negative thought that I'm having at this current moment? The second thing that I do after I recognize it is I rethink, all right? So once I recognize, I'll take a deep breath. I'll recognize the thought I just had, and then I'll rethink. And I'll rethink the thought the way that I want to. Like what is the thing that I should think instead of this, right? So if I have some sort of negative thought, what's the alternative? Yeah, obviously it sucks that my waiter is kind of slow right now. But dude, like, first things first, I got food. Like I had the ability to communicate with them. And honestly, if you look at the grand scheme of things, and I'll literally zoom out on the universe, I'm like, how much does it matter in the grand scheme of the universe when there's literally just billions and trillions of stars that are out there? How much is the fact that my burger has taken 3 minutes to get to me? How much does that truly matter? Or say I get my ego's getting in the way, right? I feel this ego rise up, and I'm like, because I'm a super competitive person, Manny. I naturally have a massive ego. Ever since I was extremely young, I had to be the best. I had to be the greatest. That was always how it was. So I find this coming up in business a lot, where someone will come up with a good idea, and I'll almost get a little bit irritated because that wasn't my idea, right? And that's not healthy, but it's just who I naturally am. I'm extremely competitive, and I don't want anyone to be better than me. But I'll realize to myself, like, A, that's not a reflection on me. Someone else came up with a great idea. That's not a reflection on me. And B, the fact they came up with a great idea is good for me because that idea helps me get to my mission of impacting millions of kids. So if they didn't have this idea, I'd be one step further from literally saving millions of kids from living a life of mediocrity. So what I'll do is I'll rethink the negative thought that I just had, or the unhealthy thought. And it doesn't even have to be negativity. It can be ego. It can be anger. It can be stress. That's another thing I do this for. Literally anything I don't want my neurons firing off about. And the third thing I do is I rewire. So after I've rethought, what I do is I rewire my mind by literally just pinching my arm. That's all I do. I'll just pinch my arm. Because humans, we don't like pain, right? And so if we put our hand on the stove, we're not putting our hand back. That's an obvious thing. So what I do is I pinch myself to signal to my brain, you're not having that thought again, homie. Like that's not good for you. And what you'll notice is you do this for literally 24 hours, and it'll blow your mind because a thought that you've had for 4 years straight, that you continue to have a recurring pattern, you do this for 24 hours, and you will be blown away at literally the fact you rewired your brain. So that's how I personally deal with it. Number one, I don't. But number two, like I don't deal with negative people. I don't negotiate with them. I don't do business with them. I'm not friends with them. You know, I had a waitress the other day that was negative, and I said, listen, can I be completely transparent with you? I'm like, ma'am, I'm in your corner. I got your back. I understand why you're complaining. Like, I would be just as irritated as you. And then I literally broke down to her why she shouldn't complain. I was literally like, listen, like, it just doesn't make logical sense. So I'll either tell someone to stop complaining in an elegant way to where they're not ticked off at me. I'll either separate myself, but for my own mental thoughts, I follow those 3 R's. I recognize, I rethink, and I rewire. And those 3 things right there, that 3-step process, can rewire pretty much any thought that you have.
Interesting. So really, it's taking a reflection on how you're going to react to that response, right? Whether someone's being negative to you, they're not seeing it, they just are not being that positive reinforcement you need. And so just distancing yourself from that entire situation. I love it. Now,
Yeah.
looks like we got a question already popping in from Facebook. Daryl asks, what up, Manny and Caleb? Caleb question, what are the toughest distractions for you being young? Trying to stay focused while you have friends wanting you to play video games, watch or play sports, and of course, women distraction. How
Yeah.
do you do with
Well,
that?
I actually saw this comment on your post. So how do I deal with distractions like video games, stuff like that? First things first, I've pretty much lived my life in a way to where I've gotten rid of most of those distractions that like most young kids have. Like I never play video games. You know, like people are always hanging out with negative friends. I don't do any of that. So like for me, I've pretty much limited myself from that. As far as women distractions go, that's definitely a hard one. Because listen, I'll be real, I definitely love women. Don't get me wrong about that. So that's definitely difficult. But for me, the way that I do it is like for me, to be real, I feel like obsession is like the antidote to distraction. Like if you're truly obsessed with what you do, distraction is just inevitably going to kind of fade away. And that's a big thing for me is like, dude, I'm just so obsessed with what I do. To be real, it's not a conscious thought. I'm not conscious. Like I don't want to play. I'm not going to play video games. Like I don't want to play video games. Like why would I play a video game whenever my life is so cool? You know, like why would I watch TV like whenever I literally like I'm in my own head and I enjoy thinking in my own head about my future so much and about the future of the human race so much that to me like there is no distraction. So to be real, it's not something I really consciously thought about even since I was really young. Like I grew up, I wanted to be the shortstop for the New York Yankees, as you see my Yankees logo here, and so I never had the distractions most kids had. Like, you know, my friends would all go party after we won a championship, and they would go, you know, at a pool party and hang out with girls and all that different type of stuff. And dude, we would win a championship, and within the next hour, I was back in the batting cage hitting until I had blisters on my hands, right? So like, why did I do that? There was no conscious, like, I'm going to eliminate these distractions. I'm just so obsessed with where I'm going that I don't need stimulants. And I feel like that's a lot of people. They don't have vision. They don't have obsession. So they need other things to keep their mind occupied. But to me, dude, I'm so obsessed with what I do. Distractions aren't fun to me. I don't enjoy them.
I like it. Looks like the comments are blowing up on that quote you said. Obsession is the antidote to distraction. So I love it. So it's really giving them a real thinking. Like, look, if you're stuck playing video games, you're stuck watching TV, you're not motivated enough about something. You're not excited enough to be taking action, because if you really were hungry for it, you would be waking up and sleeping. I mean, literally today, I was like really excited for this interview. And so I went to bed at a normal time. I was like 9 o'clock. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to wake my body up at 3 o'clock. I told myself, wake up at 3 o'clock because I got a lot of work to do before we get this interview going. And better, you know what? I'm waking up at 3:33 a.m.
That's savage.
And I get all this stuff done. I'm like, yes, this is really exciting. Another question pops up. This is a big one. I haven't even read it yet. Let's see what it says.
And by the way, real fast before we take Dave's question, another big thing too, you gotta understand your mind is literally, like I said, it's a machine. You can rewire it. And like humans, we have chemicals that go off in our brains, and pretty much one of the most important ones and the most dominant ones that pretty much it's one of the things that pretty much controls most of the decisions we make, and that chemical is dopamine. And so like if you get your dopamine from social media, you're going to have an impulse to go do more social media because you're getting dopamine from that. But for me, one thing you'll learn is if you do 3 days of focused work, you break your brain into getting dopamine from working. And so like, for example, like a few days ago, Ryan and I, we did like a 5-day work sprint where, dude, we kind of overworked, to be completely real with you. And we were working nonstop, and it was getting to the place where, dude, I was dreaming, and I was literally working on my laptop while I was dreaming. Like before I would go to bed, I had an impulse. I was like, I gotta check, like what, because we were working on this like project. I was like, I gotta check, I gotta look at it one more time. I gotta see if there's anything I'm missing. And so like your brain, it'll blow your mind how much your brain will optimize for the things you want it to when you just focus on those things. And your dopamine will be wired. But if you're getting your dopamine from Instagram, from Facebook, from unhealthy friends, from all sorts of different impulses, because there's so many different impulses that, you know, humans deal with. If you're getting your dopamine from that, your mind's automatically going to focus on that. But if you can wire your brain to getting dopamine from what it is you want to focus on, and you just focus on that and eliminate all other dopamine, your brain will actually start acting impulsively, which is what the word obsession really is. It's like it's impulse. Like when I feel like you're obsessed, you don't just work hard, you impulsively want to work hard. Like you kind of get fidgety. Like me and Ryan will be playing pool with each other because we know we need a break, and we're getting fidgety because we're ready to get back to work. Your mind will wire itself if you put dopamine towards the right direction.
Interesting. So it's really kind of a reverse engineering your brain, right? So saying, look, I know how the brain works. If the brain gets more of this, I'm going to keep showing up for that. I'm going to keep wanting more of that. And so kind of tricking your brain and saying, hey, dopamine's not going to come from those boring activities. We're going to make 100%. It from exciting activities. I love it. Great response there. Now you see a little scrolling ticker here at the bottom. For you watching live right now, if you text in to that number, the word Caleb 2020, keyword Caleb 2020, you'll get a link to actually jump into the backstage where I'm at right now, and we could bring you in on video to ask Caleb your questions. So if you guys want to ask Caleb on video, we're recording this for the School of Business. Definitely get yourself texting in and let's play along. One of my From Orphan to CEO students, Jesse asked, what would you tell a 4-year-old? So let's say he's got a 4-year-old himself. He's trying to motivate his kids to love entrepreneurship. And I remember your dad was paying you to read success books instead of reading or doing chores. But what would you say to somebody who's barely getting started in even speaking, let alone understanding what the word entrepreneurship means?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first things first, honestly, like for a 4-year-old, that's extremely young, right? Like that's a young mind, which I absolutely love. Because I've learned with young minds, you can tell them a sentence and it'll change their life more than it will a book for an entire adult, right? But honestly, I don't know if I would tell the 4-year-old something. What I would rather do is turn to the parent and tell like the parent something, because at the age of 4 years old, if I tell them one sentence, as much as like that will like, there's a good chance it'll impact them, right? Tell them one story that could impact them. At the same time, they have this whole rest of their childhood. And if I just give them one thing, I don't believe it's going to change their life to the way maybe it would if I was talking to a 13-year-old. I can talk to them in 1 second and just fire them up and get them motivated. But for a 4-year-old, they're so moldable. It really is more about the parent. And I think I've told this before. I think maybe the last event I was on, I told you this, but I'm going to say it again because for me, I feel like it's the 3 things my dad really instilled in me. The first thing I would tell the parent, I was going to say, number 1, you need to focus on getting your kids, first things, learn. Getting your kids obsessed with learning. Like someone once asked me, I might have said this on the last thing we did too, but someone once asked me on this podcast I was on. We were in the studio. You got the lights. Like I don't know if you guys have ever filmed and there's the big lights, but you'll be filming for so long and you're just like looking towards the lights and you start to like not have your vision there, so you can't really see much. And we're in the studio and they're just drilling me with questions for like an hour straight. And I'm starting to get to the place where I'm kind of like fired up, right? Because you like start to get momentum the more questions that are asked. Any speakers out there kind of know what I'm saying. And the guy asked me, he's like, dude, if you had a daughter and you were going to die today and you could only write one thing on a piece of paper, what would that thing be? You can only write one thing for your daughter. And first things first, I'd write, I love you. Like I want to know that more than anything, right? But the main thing I would write is I would just write one big word. And I would write the word curiosity. Because in that one piece of paper, there's no way I could tell my daughter something that would serve her for the rest of her life, because there's so much information that you need to know in order to live a quality life, right? There's so much foundational principles you need to have, and it's not just one thing. But here's what I know. If you have true curiosity and you're deeply curious about learning, she's going to find the answers that I need to give her, if that makes any sense. And so I can try to give her an answer, or I can give her the trait that will help her find the rest of the answers. And that's why I would tell her curiosity, is because I want her to have the curiosity. I don't have a daughter, but when I do, it's the number one thing I'm going to instill my kids. There's only so much I can teach them. But if I give them a curiosity, they're going to learn for the rest of their life. So that would be the first thing I would tell that parent, is making sure your kids are hungry to learn. They have deep curiosity, and never ever, like when your kids ask why, it needs to be like they just won their baseball team's championship. Like making them is obsessively ask the question why. And you got to get to the place where you walk into your kid's room at 3 a.m. and their nose are in a book, because like they're just so curious about what they don't know. They want to know more about how do you do this, how do you do that, and they're reading, they're studying. And that's one thing my dad did to me, is he gave me a deep curiosity, which had me just literally learning for 4 to 6 hours at the age of 9 years old every single day. And that just adds up. So first thing is learn. Second thing is earn. Like that's a big thing. Like no matter what, we live in capitalism, and you're gonna need to make money, right? And the reason I say earn and not just money, A, because it rhymes with learn, so it's clean. But B is because I don't just mean making money. I'm talking about earning what you get, actually having work ethic. And I think that's another thing my dad always instilled in me. And dude, like at the age of 11 years old, I just worked an insane amount of hours. Like literally, Child Protective Services was concerned for me because they were like, dude, you're working like almost too much. And I don't think kids should overwork, but I love what I did so much, and I felt like I had such a big vision and such a big purpose. I was just working nonstop but it wasn't work to me. That's the second thing. And teaching them money principles and understand and really teach your kids how capitalism works. Like me and Ryan, we're working on a bunch of stuff for kids right now. And little sneak peek, we're actually in the process of creating a homeschool program, which I mentioned to you before, Manny. But we're kind of like, we're mapping out what the kids are going to be learning. And we're going to have an entire subject in our homeschool program called capitalism. And basically what it does is it teaches kids like the financial system that they're in, how it works. And really all capitalism is it's understanding you get paid in proportion to the value that you provide to the marketplace. And that's it. The person who provides the most value, they're the richest. That is literally how capitalism works. And I think teaching your kids that is like, listen, no matter what you do, making yourself a person of value is probably the most valuable thing you can do as a young kid. Like, I don't care if I couldn't do business, I could pretty much land any job within one conversation because A, I have the value of people skills, which is massive value. And then B, like I could do marketing for any company. Like I have value to the marketplace. So earning. And the third thing is return. Teaching your kids to actually like not just make money, but actually like giving back. I know like my dad took me on over 54 mission trips. And the fact that he instilled that in me is probably the greatest thing he ever did. Because I just see the world through a different lens. Like guys, like I'm down at the pier in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is where I'm from. And I love coming down here because there's just tons of humans. And I love nothing more than just walking through a crowd of humans, just looking in their eyes and just literally thinking in my head, how can I solve problems for these people? And that is like my number one driver. How can I solve problems for the human race? And my dad taught me the importance of returning. And that means not sheltering your kids from the pain in the world, but really explaining to them like, yo, like, listen, this is a rough world out here. There's a lot of brokenness. There's a lot of problems. And they're massive problems. They're not small problems. They're not, problems that you just complain about because you're irritated. They're like problems that cause human suffering and literally ruin human lives to where they literally don't see the world the same way we see it. I mean, look at child sex trafficking. Look at homelessness. Something a lot of people don't know is, did you know that obesity, 30% of Americans are obese, and 30% of that 30% are so obese they never leave their house, which equals out to be about 11% of Americans never leave their house because they're so obese they can't get out. So like there's so many problems in the world, and we tend to shelter our kids from it because we want them to live good lives. I think the best way to have your kids live a good life is to teach them how many people are not living good lives, giving them the skills to be able to make those lives better, and then giving them an obsession to solve problems for the people whose lives aren't as good. To me, that's the ultimate goal of a child. So for me, my son could go create a multi-billion-dollar company. I genuinely wouldn't be proud. My daughter could do the same thing. I mean, I'd be proud because that's impressive. Like, I know a lot of work goes in that, and you kind of have to solve a problem. But for me, what makes me more excited than anything is I want to create my kids where they're just world problem-solving machines. Like, that's the big thing. So I know that's a lot, especially for your 4-year-old, but I would tell the parent, like, instead of telling the 4-year-old something, I would tell the parent those 3 things: learn, earn, and return. And waking up every day and saying, how can I instill those things? And understanding your kids are a career, Like, a lot of people, they invest.
Response. I mean, looking at having the parents be where you focus on, not the kids, because at 4 years old, they're just impressionable, right? Everything they look at is they're consuming and saying, that's fact. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's how I'm supposed to live my life. And a lot of times, right, I'm talking to people that are experts at working with people in trauma. And a lot of times it comes back to that 4 to 5 year old. What happened at that age that made such an impression that 30 years later, they still do those same things. They're still part of those same habits. Powerful, powerful strategy to make sure that the parents are being the example. Great answer there, brother. We got a lot of really cool questions that are popping in. I want to get to another one that came in. Fred Postimo. Nobody's hopped into the video yet. Hey guys, that scrolling ticker there at the bottom, when you text that in, it gives you the StreamYard link. Nobody's gotten in the back office. Whoever gets in is going to get on video and you're going to be able to ask questions. You guys are all using the comments, which is great.
They're nervous.
Get on video.
They're
Oh,
nervous
there we
of
go.
you,
Fred's
Manny.
there.
They're nervous of you,
That
Manny.
was. All right, here we go. We're gonna bring one in right now. Fred
Yo.
Welcome.
I want to get to another one that came in.
Comment.
Nobody
What is it? What do you call it? Mute yourself.
golden picture there at the bottom.
Fred, mute the live stream.
StreamYard link. Nobody's got it in the back office. Whoever gets in is going to get on video.
All right, I'm gonna have to mute him real quick. All right, Fred, you need to mute your live stream so you don't hear my background, and then I'm gonna bring you in for a question. But what question do you have for Caleb Maddix?
All right. So I figured out what was happening. I had to turn off the Facebook Live that was going on at the same time that I'm in here. I'm like, why is everybody talking at once? All right. So what's going on, Caleb? We chatted on the phone a few weeks ago. This is cool. I feel like I'm hanging out with both you guys on that cool pier that Caleb's at. So Caleb,
right.
My question for you is, I am 25 years old and I'm kind of moving into the author, speaker, coach consulting space and trying to position myself as an expert and authority in that space. And oftentimes I feel one of the difficulties that I move through is being so young in this space. And that seems to be your area of expertise. So what advice would you give to just kind of overcoming that adversity and making it work in a sense?
Yeah. Well, dude, first things first, you got to understand capitalism doesn't care about age.
Sure.
Beauty part about capitalism is inherently capitalism is it's kind of faceless. All right. Like it's just value driven. So like, I don't care if you're black, if you're white, if you're 20 years old, 30 years old, 60 years old, 12 years old, if you have value to the marketplace, you're going to make money. Right. So the number one thing I would say is don't think about your age. Think about the result that you're getting. And like, if you're selling, for example, like life coaching, right, at 25,
right,
it's going to be difficult, but not if you can change people's lives, right? Like Tony Robbins was doing life coaching at 22 years old and was doing these massive seminars because he had value. So I would say don't even really think about it like that. I never really thought I'm 13 years old. Like I don't know if I can go viral. I knew that if I said things that resonated with people or that they thought was controversial and they were like, forget this kid, whatever. I knew that if I put out a viral video, it wouldn't matter how old I was, it was going to go viral. I knew, for example, whenever I was, when I was 14, I was closing $25,000 speaking gigs. And one of the number one pitches that I would have is people would say, Caleb, I would love to have you. I'm gonna be real with you, bro. You're just too young, right? And I would always say, dude, honestly, to be real with you, I get that all the time. And I'm just looking for people who don't think I'm too young. So if you think I'm too young, that's no big deal. I'm probably not the best fit for your event. But I do have a friend that I would actually love to refer to you because I know that he's looking for speaking gigs right now. So basically, let me just give you some context about my friend. He was just featured in Forbes, Huffington Post, Entrepreneur Magazine, Inc. Magazine. He just had a viral video that reached 3 million people. He wrote he wrote a book that has sold thousands of copies. He just went on national TV in front of 8 million people. And I would give this credibility of my friend and I would tell them about it. And they would go, oh my gosh, yeah, can you intro me? I'd be like, awesome. What's the best way to intro? Should I text, email? They're like, yeah. I'm like, awesome. Well, that person's actually me. And I would say, I'm the person that I just named you. And I would just name off my credibility. And they would be like, wow. So I would get them to realize that if I wasn't 13, they would hire me for the event. So it's no reason to not hire me. And also another big thing I believe in is that you got to turn your disadvantages into your advantage. Like people say, you're only 13. I said, that's why it's perfect, because adults are going to sit there and say, if a kid can do it, I can do it. And then the kids that are in your audience are going to say, man, if a kid can do it, then I can do it. So I'm like, it doesn't matter what age, for the first time ever, every person's going to leave being motivated. I was like, come on, like, why do you think I'm going viral? Why do you think people are watching my videos? Because to see a 14-year-old doing this, a 13-year-old doing this is obviously motivational. So I would turn my disadvantage, what they thought was a disadvantage, into my advantage. And honestly, just realizing, dude, it doesn't matter if you're 25, like you have more of an advantage than I do if it's about age. Like it really isn't about age. It's about value. And so I wouldn't focus on your age. I wouldn't focus on leveraging. I would literally sit there and say, what is the result that I can provide? And if there's not a result you can provide yet, that's no big deal. That's where you go in your little zone and you become a master at something. You become an expert at something. You go into trial and error. But like at the end of the day, people pay for results. And if you can deliver that result, I don't care how old you are, they're going to give you money. It's all about value.
Love it. Love it.
Great
Perfect.
answer. All right, brother. So, well, look what happened to me. What happened to me? Oh, I disappeared. What happened? Let's see. Turn myself back on. Can you hear me? Oh, there we go.
We can hear you.
I was like, what heck, man? My video cuts out.
You went into podcast mode.
Oh man, that was a good response. Right. Awesome, man. That was really good stuff. So let's bring in Jesse Brower. He had a comment during the live stream, and it looks like he's hopped in. So Jesse, come on down. Jesse Brower, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning or good afternoon there, Caleb. Thanks for doing this with Manny. This is really cool. I watch your stuff, and I let my 4-year-old watch you. You know, when you're doing your speeches and stuff, I put it on because I want that kind of energy to rub off on him. Hey, man, I want to know what headset you're using. I'm going to order it right now.
Then honestly, first things first, bro. I appreciate you hopping on here. I see you on Facebook all the time, bro. So I respect it. And also, shout out to your 4-year-old. Tell him I said what's up.
Thank you.
So, as far as the headset, I honestly don't even know what it's called. I just go to CVS and get this. It's $20. I just pick the first thing I see off the rack, and I just got these headphones. I got through like 6 pairs because I keep losing them, and they're only $20. So I'm like, all right, let's get a new one. So, yeah. But you can go see, like, go to a CVS or something like that. They got them in the airport.
Cool.
Boom, you're rolling.
That's your question, Jesse? The whole to bring you on video is to ask him his headset.
Yeah.
All right, Jesse, thank you for coming in, brother. All right. Well, we get to know that you've got a headset from CVS. All right. Good stuff. All right. Let's bring in one more on video. Tamisa Leiden, come on down. Welcome to the party, Tamisa.
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Okay. Hey, Caleb, in your young, short, so vibrant life so far, what is the most important thing you have learned thus far?
Whoa, that is a big question. The most important thing I've learned so far.
Got him on the spot.
I would say the most important thing that I've learned so far is the importance of love. I feel like that's the number one thing. Like, honestly, you can be a complete failure, not make any money, not be in business, but if you love life and you love people, you're going to be fulfilled. You can have all the money, but if you don't got love, you're not going to be happy. I feel like love is the currency of happiness. So, like, I would say that's the number one thing I've learned, because there's been so much and like an unbelievable amount of stuff that I've learned. I'm still learning, and I'm finding out things I believed before aren't true. And like I'm always adjusting and learning new things. But the one thing that I know will always be true is the power of love to me. And even like I met this guy the other day named Keto, and he's like probably 60 years old, and he's just the happiest dude I'd ever met in my life. And he was just like looking out at the ocean and like watching animals, and I'm like, dude, why are you so happy? And he said, dude, I'm just filled with love. That was his answer. And I was like, well, what would you recommend to people? And he said, the number one thing I recommend if you want to be happy, he's literally the happiest guy I ever met in my life, besides my close friend, Brian. But he said the number one thing I would recommend if you want to be happy is get lost in nature. And I believe that. Like for me, I believe there's so many answers in nature. And I was even asking Manny before, I was like, dude, how often do you go to the ocean? I was like, we got to get you going to the ocean more because, dude, you'll find answers in the ocean. And so that's a big thing for me, dude. Like the universe is run off of love, and I just love getting in nature. And I realize like everything else is extremely empty. But if I can build multi-billion-dollar companies with love, I'll be the happiest dude alive. If I can solve world problems with love, I'll be the happiest dude alive. If I create an education system that has more people feel love, not in love, yeah, that too, right? That sounds awesome. I can't wait to meet my wife. That's gonna be the best day of my life. But with that said, if we can get people feeling love, we're going to have a much better world.
Caleb, that's a great answer from a young guy, and I wish you best of luck all throughout life. And love makes the world go round. So good for you for realizing that so young.
It does. And also with that said, by the way, I appreciate the question. People that lack love, that's also one of the worst things that could happen. This is going to get kind of serious for a second. But even like I was doing research on Hitler. And once again, this is like super... this isn't like the most comfortable topic, but I was doing research on Hitler because I wanted to know what causes a human being to go that far dark. Like, just absolutely that far dark. And I don't remember the exact story, but I do remember that when Hitler was extremely young, he got extremely abused by, I think, his stepfather. And when I started doing research on that, that really hit me that the power of love can change the world. Someone like Martin Luther King, who brings so much equality and so much peace to so many people. Someone like Jesus. Like, you look at these people who who are lost to love, it can change the world. But then people that lack love, it can also ruin the world. And so that's why my number one priority is I just want to give millions of people across the world to be able to feel love. And I feel like if we do that, that's the input that's going to solve the output of pretty much all the world problems that we deal with.
Go forth and spread that word, boy.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Caleb.
Great stuff. Oh man, Caleb, you are just dropping them nugget bombs here today, brother. I love it. My comments are blowing up. I keep pushing them on the video here. So if you guys want to get your comments in, put them in the comments. I'm doing shout outs, putting them on the video. We've got another one coming in that has a question. Miriam Toro. We don't have a video stream, but we've got an audio. Miriam, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're at. And I'm so excited to hear the way you're thinking and how you're inspiring other young people. So me as a leader, I'm working with a lot of young people and I want to be the best leader to them. And I don't want to bore them. I want to make sure they're like upbeat, they're excited. What motivates a young person to stay in business and succeed and go beyond?
Well, I think about it. I love that you do that. Anyone who does anything with kids, that's my favorite thing to hear. As far as what motivates kids, I feel like for every kid it's different. For every kid it's different. They all have different motives, different things they want, because humans are so vastly different. So it's not like specifically one thing. But I think the number one thing that will motivate kids is if you can make them feel understood. If you can make them feel like you understand them, right? Like, and I've gone and spoken to, groups of 500 kids that are some of the worst shape you could ever imagine. Like literally, I went and spoke at an event in Houston where they took these kids from this shelter where basically every single one of them were involved in pretty terrible crimes. It wasn't just like this simple thing where they were just in bad positions. Like they had done bad things. They had all been abused. It was a very rough crowd to speak to. And here I am, this kid who has made millions of dollars and I'm speaking to them and I really can't relate with them at all from a pure personal level, except for the fact I've been on so many mission trips and seen so much brokenness. But when I spoke, I broke through to every single one of them, and literally every single one of them, the most hard kids you'd ever meet, you would think you could never get them to smile, let alone shed a tear. And every single one of them were crying by the end. I had an entire line when I was done of kids coming up and hugging me. And the reason why is I feel like the reason I broke through with them is not because I said a cool quote, but it's two reasons. Number one, I made them feel understood. I truly looked at where they were coming at and understood it wasn't that they had done bad things. It's that honestly bad things were done to them and they were just mirroring that. So I really understood where they were coming from and made it to where even though I can't relate with them personally, they felt my heart in relating with them. And that was huge because at first they were all closed up. And the second thing, and this is the biggest thing if you're trying to help kids and connect kids, and one of the number one things that I'm even working on, is understanding how to tell stories. The number one thing that moves a kid is storytelling. And that's one of the things, like even this morning, I did like 3 hours of just studying storytelling and how it works. Yesterday, I did an hour-long call with this lady named Marion, who actually produced this documentary called America, the Story of Us. And it's one of the best documentaries I've ever seen about the history of America. And they actually got every single one of those documentaries, the documentary she created, it literally got put in every single public school in America. She's interviewed people like Prince Charles, Donald Trump, John Lewis, like all these unbelievable people. And I was picking her brain for an hour just about storytelling and how she tells stories and how she moves millions of kids through these documentaries she creates. Because for me, the ultimate thing that I want to do is I want to tell stories that share lessons with kids that change their life and that make them feel loved and that teach them important principles to thrive. And I think if I'm someone working with kids, the number one thing I recommend for you is that, well, your name is Miriam, by the way, that's cool. The number one thing I would recommend is that you obsessively learn how to tell stories, because there's nothing that's going to move a kid more than A, making them feel understood. And one of the number ways to do that is through storytelling. And then B, knowing how to tell a story that puts them into that story and makes them like, it literally pulls them in. That's how you're going to captivate their attention.
Well, I'm excited to share your story because the story of success is what we need. We need better examples, and you're definitely doing it. So excited that Manny has you here to share with us, because as old or as young as we are, we definitely learn from you, Caleb. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm glad Manny had me on as well. Manny is a godsend.
Aw, you guys are so nice. Thank you, man. This is fun. How do you liking this little Q&A interactive thing that we're doing here? This is pretty interesting. So
I'm
you
loving it,
guys,
bro. I love that we're pulling people in. I said, yeah, I love that we're pulling people in. I like talking to people, like having the conversation.
yeah, this is fun. So you guys watching right now, we have time to maybe bring in one or two more people that want to come in on video. So text in Caleb 2020 to the number you see scrolling on that screen there, and you'll get the link to hop in. You only have a couple more minutes left, and then that's your chance. So ask away and put them in the comments as well. So we're seeing a lot of those. A lot of cool shout outs and stuff like that. So thank you, Caleb from Random Facebook User. We love you as well, random person of the world. So, Caleb, I've got a question for you. Future-wise, I mean, we're both tackling a similar issue. We want to
Yeah.
fix the educational system, right? I've seen some ways that we could fix it by including gamification, including ways that they're learning from people that are active in the industries they teach, right? Getting them experiences that they can actually partake in. So it's not just them reading books, but giving them access to different ways to learn and be educated. Where do you see
Yeah.
our education system going with the way the whole world is today? And where do you see it in the next maybe 5 years from now with what you know and what you're trying to put together as well?
I see the education system going wherever Apex goes first. That's the first thing. Secondly, really the number one thing I see the education system going, the Apex system, that's funny. The education system going to is I feel like it's going to be a lot more personalized. I think that's the really big thing. I feel like it's going to stop being so one size fits all. And really our goal at Apex is we want to create something where the kids don't just learn, but we learn them. And that's the biggest thing that we're trying to instill when we're working on recruiting a team to create an AI that basically is going to do that. But I think that's the main change that we're going to see in the education system. It's not going to be a bunch of kids sitting in a classroom learning the same thing, all at the same pace, all in the same format, because humans are so different. We learn at different rates for different subjects. Some kids learn faster at this, other kids learn faster at this. Some people learn visually, some people learn more audibly. There's so many different ways that people learn. And so I think an education system in which has all of this education, it's not so curriculum, like it's not so curriculum based where it's like do this, then this, then this. It's more curiosity driven where there's essentials and foundation that kids need to learn, and then a format in which they can just let their minds run wild. And so for me, I feel like that's really where the education system is going, is where each kid has their own unique learning experience specifically tailored to them, and also allows them to not just learn, but have this curiosity to where if a kid wants to learn one day 16 hours, there should be no reason that the bell goes da-da-da-da and they have to leave. That shouldn't work that way. So that's where I see the biggest things. Another thing I see kids not just learning from teachers who I absolutely love, and there's always going to be a place for teachers, but I see them also learning from the greatest minds on the planet. I see them learning about science from someone like Elon Musk, right? I see them learning about capitalism from someone like Jeff Bezos. I see them learning about discipline from a United States military general. I see them learning about, health from some of the top doctors in the world, from some of the healthiest people. I see them learning about human communication and how to do public speaking from someone like Kevin Hart. I see them learning from the greatest minds, and that's one of the big things I want to do, is I want to connect the greatest minds to the human race. And that's what we're working every single day. That's what I sit here in the grass right here and just obsessively think about. And that's the question I'm always trying to ask is, where's the education system going? Because what a visionary is a visionary doesn't just see the future, which they do, but they also change the direction of it. So it's two components. It's A, you get paid a lot of money if you know where the puck is going. If you know where the puck is going, for example, I'll give you a few things like AI, the puck's going towards AI. AI will be huge, artificial intelligence. Through genetics, there's a lot going on with genetics for humans having more longevity and living longer. There's so much, it's knowing where the puck is going is one of the most important things we can do as an entrepreneur. But not just that, also asking, where's the puck going and how can we change the direction in a more positive way for the human race? And someone who can do both of those, the first one, if you know where the puck is going, you're a very wealthy entrepreneur. If you can change the direction of it, and also you're a visionary because you see where it's going. If you can change the direction of where the puck is going, now you're an icon. And I feel like that is what I'm always asking is, where's the puck going? How can I change the direction in a more positive way for the human race?
I like it. So, and understanding that idea where the puck is going, right? And instead of trying to go where the puck is, by the time you get there, the puck is moved, right? And that's kind of the idea with the market. By the time people are catching up to what's trending today, the puck is moved, right? And if you can understand where the puck is going, be there by the time the puck gets there, that's what he's talking about. And if you have the ability to move and change direction to that puck to say, look, it may be going this way, but I'm going to trend it this way, right? Like kind of what I'm doing with live events and networking events, right? It used to just have all these pitch fest all the time, right? Every event you go to, there's just a big pitch fest. And now since I'm putting out these Serve X events and the Action Takers networking and Network of Influence events, you know, we're changing the way, I'm changing the puck direction to say, look, we have to do it a different way. People want to learn when they go to events, not be sold programs that they don't need and they shouldn't have bought. And at the same time, there's great programs that people can work with, but at the same time, you have to identify where they need the actual help. So you're definitely tying in very, very well. What would you say is kind of the shift that you want to see businesses go to in the coaching space, right? Where you've been in the space for a while, the coaching and speaking space. What do you see that needs to be changed, and where do you want to see that puck shift?
I think the biggest thing with coaches and speakers is just more people getting results. You know, a lot of people are very focused on selling their product, which is great. That's what I'm really good at more than anything. I'm really good at marketing and selling. So I feel that, but also it's asking, how can we actually get results for the majority of people that buy? And a lot of times what coaches will do is they'll have all these customers and then they'll just highlight the 5 to 10 best testimonials they have whenever they have hundreds or thousands of customers. And for me, what I really want to do is I want to have, I think coaches and speakers, if you can get results for the majority of people that join your programs, that's where you're really going to win. And I think more coaches and speakers, they don't spend enough time asking what actually is going to get my people results. You know, like I get that you're whiteboarding your value ladder. I get that you're whiteboarding out your funnel. I get that you're whiteboarding out your ad. But where is the whiteboarding out the journey we're going to take our customers on? Where is the whiteboarding out where they are at and fully understanding that, and then where we want them to go and taking them there? And I think if every day a coach and consultant wakes up and says, or speaker, how can I get results from my clients? And you obsess on that, eventually you're going to come across something really great. And the people that are able to do that, they're the ones that end up winning the biggest in this space. And there's only 2 ways to be the biggest in this space. What you're going to find is a lot of the best coaches and consultants speakers, they're actually not the best coaches, consultants, and speakers. What they are the best marketers, right? This is a space where a lot of marketers who are marketers realize this space is extremely lucrative. So they join this space. So that's a big thing, is like, you do need to know how to market, but then also actually getting results for people. So if you can become the best marketer in your niche and get more results than else in your niche, that's a $5 to $10 million company every single time, and a very fulfilling one at that, because you have people who are raving fans. And I think that's another thing too, is creating movements. You know, that's one of the big things that I've been trying to figure out, is how can I create not just a course, but how can I really create a movement of people that are behind one vision, that are behind, they all have one goal, they all believe the same thing. How can we create that movement? For example, a really good friend of mine, his name is Russell Brunson, which, by the way, something fun coming up. I just introduced Russell Brunson and Logan Paul, the big YouTube star. I just introduced them, and they might be doing a wrestling match soon, which is going to be pretty fun. But Russell Brunson, he has almost, what's that?
He knows marketing, that's for sure. That's a smart idea.
Yeah, well, because he messaged me and he was like, "Yo, I'll give Logan $100,000 if he beats me in a wrestling match." And Russell used to be one of the top wrestlers in the world, believe it or not, when he was in college. So he's a beast. So they're going to be in a wrestling match, which is going to be pretty neat. But long story short, Russell is actually he owns a company called ClickFunnels, which is almost $1 billion company. It might actually be a $1 billion company. I'm not 100% sure. And the number one reason that company grew, they do have a really great product, unbelievable. But really, they created a real movement of people. And I think movement marketing, like if I'm a coach or consultant, if you just focus on creating true fans, raving fans, like Manny, that's one thing you've done so phenomenally that I have a lot of respect for you for. Everyone's always so focused on how can I get millions of followers. You don't need that. You need how can I get 200 raving fans. Before I ever had viral videos, the first ever 120 followers I had on social media, I messaged every single one of them and had a personal conversation with them, because I knew that the only way I was going to grow is if I went deep. And everyone's always focused on expanding. You need to go deeper with the people you currently have. And I think that's another big thing as well, is actually creating a movement of people, giving them a name, giving them something to rally behind, and being the leader, being the visionary for them.
I love that, man. Movement marketing, that I think is just a huge impact goal that people just don't even pay attention to, right? Just like you were saying, they want to focus on the marketing strategies versus the results, right? And you got to have the marketing. That's how you get the eyeballs. But without the results, that fizzles out very quickly. You don't get the continuous reach. I've got one question that I've been egging to ask you for a while now. And this is something I'm constantly being asked myself when I'm talking to business owners, and they're telling me, Manny, okay, I got to 6 figures, right? I've even gotten to multiple 6 figures. How do I get to 7, right? What is that secret that you were able to do? You did this by the time you were 18 years old. You had already made $1 million in your business. How did you do that? What is that secret sauce that we are just not paying attention to, that is that difference maker that says, all right, this took me from 6 figures to 7. This was that big difference maker.
Yeah, for sure. The number one thing is it's just doing the math. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, if you do the math, like, behind making $1 million, that's the quickest way to do it. And so many times people are like, I want to get to 7 figures. Well, what's that look like for you? Right? Do you have a $200 product? All right, well, how many do you need to sell to get to $1 million? Do you have a $1,000 product? How many do you need to sell? And really, that's all I do with companies. This is what Ryan and I do when we're creating $1 million companies. We've created 6 different $1 million companies in the information industry. Is we just ask ourselves, what number do we want to hit, and what's the math to get there? I'll tell you what, the quickest way to make the math work is selling something that's high ticket. That is the fastest way. Like, if anyone's in this industry and you want to actually make real money, you have to have something high ticket. You absolutely have to have something high ticket. Like, for example, I did a course that I sold for $497 and it absolutely flopped. This was about like 2 years ago. It sold for $497 and it didn't do well. And I literally just pivoted that and I restructured the offer to where it was a $7,000 offer. And instead of just being a course, it was a done-for-you offer. And I ended up building $1 million publishing company off of what was a failed course that I only sold 3 of. I built $1 million publishing company because I could sell it for $7,000. So the number one thing, if you're a coach or consultant, wants to get 7 figures, I would say ask yourself, what is a high ticket offer that I have or that I can create that'll actually get results for people? And if you can create that, if you have the ability to create a high ticket offer that will get people results, now you have a really, really huge company. Because at the end of the day, with marketing, it comes back to the most simple marketing principle. The person who can afford the most to acquire a customer wins every single time. If you can afford more to acquire a customer, meaning you make more money per customer, you win. My friend Alex Ramosi, he has a company that makes about it's either 70 or $90 million a year in the info space. He teaches gym owners how to get more how to make more money as a gym owner. And his average customer to him is worth $42,000. So it's like, well, if his average customer is worth $42,000 and someone else is worth $300, who's it going to be easier to get to 7 figures? It's going to be Alex all day. So really doing the math and breaking down to yourself, all right, what is the math? What could I sell at $2,000 and how much do I need to sell, or whatever the number might be? Figuring out an offer that people actually buy at that. And then it's really just traffic after that, is getting people to know about that thing. Like, literally, if this is all you did as a coach or consultant, if you created a $5,000 offer, let's say, and all you did was you just direct message people all day and said, hey, I'll hop on the phone with you for free and I'll break this down for you. And you figure out some sort of hook to get them on the phone, right? And that's going to be different for everyone. I don't know what the hook is for you. You figure out a hook and you just spend your time messaging people and then getting on the phone with people and you sell that high ticket offer. If you're able to crack that, you're going to be pretty much at 7 figures guaranteed. Because the way that it works is, like, at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself as a business owner, and I know I'm kind of ranting, but listen to this a few times and kind of take notes. But it's like, this is what you need to ask. Like, where am I making money as a coach? Well, you'll notice you'll probably never make money as a coach or consultant or as a speaker. You'll pretty much never make money unless you're on the phone with someone. Ring, ring, ring. That's when you make money. You usually aren't going to make money from someone just seeing a video, and especially I'm talking about high ticket here. They're not usually going to watch a video and then immediately pay you $5,000. It really doesn't usually work that way, even at the high scale. Where you're going to make money is if you're on the phone. So if you realize, all right, you correlate this in your head. I make money on the phone. I make money on the phone. That's where I make money. Boom. Get on the phone more. That's all you got to do. And that's me. Like, I used to I started doing something called Whale Day. It's how I made my first $100,000. I did the math and I realized I could try to sell low ticket stuff and sell thousands of dollars or thousands of them, right? That sounded difficult.
Yeah.
But you know what sounded easy? Closing 10 people throughout the entire year at $10,000. If I do that, I'm making $100,000 at the age of 14 years old. So instead of selling these low ticket products, I said, you know what? I'm going to sell one person a month at $10,000. And every day I would make 15 to 20 calls every single day. At the age of 14, blah, 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 blah. And guess what? I only closed 10 deals. If you do the math, that's a terrible closing rate. I was closing it way less than 1%. But I made $100,000 at 14 because it's a math game, right? I just got on the phone more than everyone else. The people I know in this industry that make the most money, they either are on the phone or they have sales teams that are on the phone for them. That's how you're going to get to 7 figures.
Put some wow faces for that response right there, guys. He just broke it down for you exactly step by step what you need to do. It's simply math. It's whatever number you want to create, reverse engineer that, and get your butt on the phone. Definitely.
Marketing is just math plus psychology. That's all marketing is. So if you can do the math and then you figure out the psychology to get people to want to buy that fits within that math, it makes the math work. Boom, you're printing money.
You're printing money, my friends. All right, we got one more question I want to bring in for you because I do want to respect your time. So let's bring in Johnny Urban. Come on down. Johnny, welcome to the show.
Hey, welcome, Manny. Welcome, Caleb. Hi.
What's up, Johnny?
This is my first time meeting you. I'm so sorry that I don't know who you are, but I am blown away by someone your age that has this wisdom that I wish I had had when I was younger. I wish I had this to impart on my children. Now they're grown and now I have grandchildren. And my question is like, my grandchildren are at that age. They're older teenagers and everything, and they didn't learn this mentality of, okay, let's be curious, let's learn, let's earn. And I just want to impart on them that critical importance of doing that. I just don't know what to say to them. I don't know how to get their attention.
Well, first things first, I apologize that you didn't know me yet. That's my fault, not yours. So as far as how old are your kids? Or sorry, your grandkids?
My oldest granddaughter's 18, and then we got a 16 and a 15, and one even younger than that. So, and then a 1-year-old.
Wow. All right. You got all the ages. So yeah. that's a little bit old. Cause what I was going to say is get them to go through Apex for Kids, which is the program that I created. We have about 100,000 students in that, and it teaches them this mindset. That's a little bit old for the program. I still will give it to you to have them watch it. I don't know if they're going to relate with it as much because it's supposed to be younger. So let's do this. Dave, I think Dave is on here. Dave, can you? Yeah, you just put her up. Dave, can you send Johnny the basic free access to Apex for Kids and get her that? That way her grandkids can go through that, especially the 1-year-old. You'll eventually have them going through it for sure. And as far as outside of that, because that's the number one thing that's in there. Yeah. Outside of that, I would say the number one thing is like, be the most loving grandma ever. That's the biggest thing, which I already feel like you are. So that's good news. Mm-hmm. And then I would say just telling your grandkids stories that resonates with them. I feel like grandparents have a very powerful opportunity to really impact their grandkids, right? Because inherently, like every time my grandparents would talk, I would be listening to them because I'm like, man, they probably got so much wisdom, living so long. That was always the mentality. And you just love your grandparents. So for you, I would, every time they come over, I would ask yourself, what is a story that I can tell my grandkids that will teach them something of importance? And whether that be your research story, but be known as the grandma that every time that they come over, every time you see them, you're giving them something that they can take and implement into their life. And you'll be shocked how much your kid or your grandkids will resonate with what you're saying and the impact that little thing will have. And I feel like just be a walking motivational speaker for your grandkids, overly supportive, overly loving, and just always giving them wisdom that they can take into their life and that makes their days a little bit better.
Yeah. And we don't live near each other. We live states away. They're in Texas. I'm in California, so it's always online. But thank you. That's wisdom that I will take and I will start using that.
and send them stuff too. Like just send them videos. Like watch a video online that you feel like is good, something from Tony Robbins or something, and send it to them. And you know what? And maybe even get a little bit creative. My dad used to pay me to read books, right? Maybe say, listen, I'll give you 20 bucks if you can watch this entire video and you can tell me everything you learned.
Oh, I can tell you a story. I once paid my youngest son, the father of the 1-year-old, $100 to sit through a Tony Robbins event.
There you go. See?
I bought him the ticket, but he wouldn't sit still. And I go, $100 if you sit here.
How old was he?
He was 16.
Did that have any effect on him?
I believe it did, even though he denies it to this day.
I feel you.
He's a wonderful young man. So
I believe it. Did he get all pumped up? Was he jumping with everyone?
No, he wasn't. He was very quiet. But he's an introvert. He's a quiet introvert. He absorbs by observing. But he just got out of the Army. I'm so proud of him. And
that's great.
Married with a 1-year-old. He's a wonderful soul. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. Thank you very much, Johnny, for coming on in. That was a great question.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm in your corner, Johnny. Or corner.
Oh man, this is a great interview, brother. I really appreciate you coming in and just dropping these nugget bombs, brother. You've just been a blessing as always, man. Every time we can bring you in, it's just amazing. Now, what I'm going to be doing right now is we're transitioning from this interview over to the Network of Influence events. We got over 20 people already in it right now. If you are trying to get connected to more entrepreneurs, right? You want to learn more about what we do with this whole program of helping kids, why we're recording this educational content piece right now. Text in the word tickets. You'll see there, tickets, right there to this number, and it's going to get you right into this event. So if you don't already have your registration, you're going to get plugged in. Caleb, is there a gift that we can give to our audience that they can get access for people like Johnny that doesn't really know who you are yet? I know you're giving them access to Apex for Kids. I don't expect that. But for people that are just tuning in right now, how can they learn more about you? Where should they go?
The number one thing, because right now I'm not personally putting out a lot of content online. I will be pretty shortly here. But the number one thing I would say is if you go to the podcast app, I've done a lot of podcasts over the past few years, and it's cool because you'll get to see the different ways that I thought throughout all of them. But if you go to the podcast app and just search my name, you'll see all sorts of interviews that I've done in the past, and you can kind of listen more. But honestly, if you just look up my name, Caleb Maddix, anywhere, it'll pop up. You Google me, it'll say Manny Lopez, biggest fan. Literally anywhere you search, you'll find me. So you just look up my name. But the final thing I do want to leave everyone with, Manny, I know I said this at the very beginning, but one of the number one things I really want you guys to implement is those 3 R's. Those 3 R's that I mentioned of recognizing, rethinking, and then rewiring. That was one of the number one things that helped me when I was a kid, and I just started doing it again. I'm telling you guys, it is so unbelievably powerful. Figure out what do you want to rewire, and then literally any time that thing, the wrong wiring comes up in your brain, you think a thought, you have a feeling, you feel an emotion, recognize that emotion, rethink, like literally just get it to where that emotion's gone, that feeling's gone, and then rewire by just giving yourself a...
Oh, we lost connection. You're back in. Oh, your audio's cut. Hold on. You're coming in. All right, you're back.
Yeah, it doesn't have to hurt a massive amount when you pinch yourself. So I got a call from a business partner. I think he wants to do a quick meeting, but it doesn't have to hurt a massive amount. But just that little bit of pinch, it'll literally rewire your mind, and you'll notice that slowly throughout the week of doing it, you'll have that emotion, and your body will automatically shut it off because you don't want to have to pinch yourself. And it's a beautiful thing. And even one of the things I do is sometimes I just get a rubber band and I just wear the rubber band. I'll just pull it back and let go just a little bit, just to let my mind know, hey, this is not what I want to be thinking. I'm telling you guys, using that little rewiring trick is so powerful. And there's so much that I said today, but if you walk away with just that one thing, guys, I know for a fact that you'll definitely feel like this time was ROI positive.
I love it, brother. I really appreciate it, man. You've just been a blessing to be just sharing your time with us. So I'm going to be respectful of that time. I did ask you for a certain amount. So I'm going to let you go. But, man, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of this. You're always just dropping nugget after nugget. And if you don't know Caleb, if you want to get connected to him and learn more about him, stay connected, man. Get in this guy's groups. He's got a program, Apex for Kids. He's got YTA. There's just so many amazing ways he's teaching these strategies. Watch him change the educational system. So thank you for your time, brother. Any last words for our audience?
Also, journaling is so important. I didn't get paid to say this, but I got this remarkable tablet recently. It's like a digital thing to journal on. It's powerful. You guys should check it out. Like I said, I have no affiliates. I don't even know a single person that works there. I just was looking at it. I was like, you guys should probably know about that. And also keep following Manny, guys. Listen to what this dude's saying. He's on some real stuff.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate your time, brother. Thank you. Have a blessed one, man.
All right, love you guys. See ya.
Oh, man, what an amazing, amazing interview. So, man, thank you guys for tuning in for this. If you're not part of the event just yet, come on down to Network of Influence. Literally, just text your tickets to this number right here. Tickets. Just put tickets. You'll get the link instantly. And if you're on my blacklist, you won't get a link. So I've already filtered it. So yeah, I can't. I'll get rid of all y'all people that don't belong. No, I'm saying. All right. So let's give a couple shout outs before I close this out. Precious says, "Wow, thank you, Precious. I really appreciate that." Let's see. Oh, people are still coming in. Thank you for bringing him on. Thank you much, Caleb. Amazing. See you later, Caleb. Wow. Looks like a lot of amazing comments coming in. Just giving you guys some shout outs before we close all this out. I believe this one may be Brandolyn. She hasn't activated her StreamYard yet. Like fire, like always. I love it. Recognize, rethink, rewire. Look at all these amazing insights that we learned today, folks. So obviously amazing content. And tomorrow we've got Les Brown. So you guys ready for some excitement? Man, we are going to have some fun. So right now we're networking. So join us in the speed networking and we will see you later. Adios, amigos.